everybody, welcome to Garden Time with Belle. It is mid-April here in my Zone 6 Mid-Missouri garden, and that means it is about 3 weeks and counting until a bunch of these beautiful plants in my greenhouse get out to my raised bed garden and get planted in pots and hanging baskets and all around the landscape. So I thought today I'd take you inside the greenhouse, give you an update, follow up on some of those things that you've seen me planting and tending so that I can have a wonderful summer garden season. So before I bring you all into the greenhouse, I'm going to ask everybody to please like and subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate your support, and it helps me grow my channel. It helps me to connect with lots of wonderful gardeners just like you. I'm going to miss the spring planters out here with these beautiful yellow pansies and cute little daffodils. They've got about another 3 weeks left to do their thing, but very, very soon it's all going to be about transplanting all of these flowers and herbs and veggie crops out to the garden. So things inside the greenhouse probably look a little bit different to those of you that follow my videos on a regular basis. First thing I want to share is my Boston fern, or I can now say my Boston ferns that you see up here on my shelf. I have been overwintering one big huge fern in my greenhouse since last October, and it does really well here in the winter inside my beautiful greenhouse. However, I have a spot on my raised bed screened in porch for 2 plants on either side of my couch, and so I did a super quick project the other day. I pulled out the one big fern, I got my hoary garden knife, split that in 2 and repotted it. So now I've got those 2 gorgeous ferns that I can't wait to take these beautiful ferns and put them on my back porch and decorate for the summer season. A few other things that have been keeping me busy this spring season here in the greenhouse is I've been thinning all of my plants that I started from seed because they're getting big enough that they need more room. And one of the big projects I tackled the other day is I up potted all of my tomatoes. This represents about 44 tomato plants and 8 different varieties. And so of course they started their little lives. I started them in this 24 count cell trays. I started the seeds there, thinned them out, and then just almost, I think it's only been about a week ago that I potted these up, and they continue to put on so much growth in just 1 week. It is crazy what it does when you take them out of the seed starting mix and give them more room to grow. They never disappoint. And as I said, 3 weeks and counting, that's my goal, to get things out into the garden, at least start taking things and planting them out, because it will be warm enough and safe enough at night, not any cold temperatures, to get my hot weather crops going. Another thing you have seen me do over and over again is propagation, and that is where you take a little cutting from a mother plant and you get it to start roots, and then you grow it on into a whole nother plant. So that's my gorgeous Kong red coleus, which if we go over here to this little raised bed, these 2 mature plants have provided me with many new plants, as you can see right here. And my goal behind this project is they're going to go out into some of my landscape beds on the north side of the house, because they can take shade or sun. And that's not the only thing. I still have even some more little coleus sitting here in water, ready to root in, and I will, when they get some roots, do the exact same thing and put them in some really nice soil and grow them on for the summer season. In this little bed, you will see my herbs and, of course, some of my beautiful geraniums that I grew from cuttings. They've been growing in the greenhouse since last summer, but I did pop in some new herbs right in the front bed, and these herbs are what we would call perennial herbs. So I've got things like oregano, tricolor sage, some lemon thyme, some regular sage, and then some beautiful just plain English thyme. The idea here is they're growing on already. They are getting much bigger, and placing them in the front of the bed, especially the thyme and the oregano, will eventually go up and over, and they will stay in this raised bed all the time in my greenhouse because I come down here and snip them for cooking on, at least twice a week. I come down here and harvest some of my herbs. Those of you who watch many of my videos know that I absolutely love zonal geraniums for a couple of reasons. Number one, they are one of the easiest flowers to grow from seed. Number two, they love living in my greenhouse. They are in my greenhouse year round. Number three, they are so easy to propagate. You can take cuttings just like of the coleus, stick it in some water, they'll sprout roots, stick it in some soil, and you're going to have another beautiful plant. So let me give you a little follow-up. You might have noticed when I had the camera going around the greenhouse a little while ago, you probably noticed my new seeds that I started. I started these geranium seeds on the first day of the year. It was a great way to come out here on January the 1st and plant up a bunch of geranium seeds. And this time I took some inspiration from Laura of Garden Answer because she grew this variety last year in her garden, and wow, wow, wow. I hadn't grown it before, and I thought, okay, it's time. And this variety is called the Maverick Bullseye series. You can see the foliage is really aptly named because the center of the green foliage is dark. It's almost wine colored, and then that beautiful outer green edge there, bullseye. And they produce the most gorgeous, gorgeous salmon flowers. I've got this salmon that's pretty bright, but this salmon is much more pinky orange, I guess you could say. It's more on the pink side than the orange side, which I really like as well. I have, oh my goodness, let's see, 48 of these plants that I started from seed in January. Many of them, I already know where they're going. I know that 3 of my big aqua pots will have them in them. I know some places in the landscape that these are going. And of course, as you know, I love to grow extras of everything so that I can give them to friends. And the last thing I want to share with you all today that is getting ready for its premiere out in the garden, which is going to be in about 3 weeks that I'll plant these out, are my beloved dahlias. I recently got a special delivery of new dahlia tubers from White Flower Farm, and I was trying to film a little bit of the unboxing of it, and I don't know what happened with my camera, but it just was not videotaping correctly this time. So anyhow, I went ahead and did my job to pre-sprout them. So what I want to do now is I want to show you the tray, which is hiding under this work table, because to pre-sprout, you want the soil to stay moist but not wet, and you don't want to expose them to a lot of light yet. And so I went ahead and put the tray under my work table, but here is what I'm talking about. And I think what I want to do is I want to tell you about the 8 new varieties that I've never grown before, and I'll try to put a picture of them up on the screen so you can appreciate how much more beautiful they will be than what they look like right now. So let's do that. Okay, I am going to be growing Jowie Winnie. I'm thinking it's a ball type dahlia, if I'm remembering correctly, and it's got some pink in it. I'm going to also grow Mediterranean or Mediterranean. There's 2 E's on that. I think that might be purple and white. I don't know. We'll have to look at the pictures when I post them. Islander is another variety that I chose. Tropical. I'm thinking the tropical is kind of pink and orange. I think it's probably going to be pretty vibrant. Here's one I'm growing for the first time, Michaela Miranda. You know, I just have to laugh at some of these names. I think they're so creative. And my guess is the Dalia breeder who bred this particular Dahlia plant, I'm wondering if they might not have daughters named Michaela and Miranda. So there you go. Peaches. Well, it's a darling dahlia that, of course, is peach colored. And it's a quite common dahlia, really popular variety, but I'd never tried it before. So that's another one. Burlesca. I'm thinking burlesca is probably pretty jazzy, pretty. So that's a new one. And finally, I'm going to try growing lilac thyme. And of course, it is lilac colored. I haven't grown many dahlias in the past that were lilac or kind of purplish, and they have more and more of those available. So that's my thought process sort of behind picking some of those. The other thing that I'll show you, I'll go ahead and dig this one out. This is one of my tubers from last year. I don't know if it's going to be viable or not. I had it in storage in my basement. In years past, I have dug my dahlias up in the fall after they're done blooming. Wipe my hands off here, because that's what we have to do where I live, because we have such cold winters that if you want dahlias for the next year, you dig up underneath the soil the tubers. Then I choose to separate them out, wrap them in saran wrap, and store them at 45 degrees in my basement. I have a nice little, like a dorm size fridge. It works perfectly. But I decided this year, you know what? I've been growing the same kind of dahlias for 4 or 5 years, and I'm just ready to switch it up. And quite frankly, some of my dahlia tubers were getting pretty tired. And so it was time for a change. So that's why I chose to go online and order some fresh dahlias. Want to say a couple of things, first of all, about the order I just received. So White Flower Farm was the company. Typically, I've only ordered online from Swan Island dahlias and had really great success with them. But just like everything right now in the US economy, the dahlia tubers have gotten ridiculously expensive. Now, the good news is, yes, you can buy one expensive tuber, you plant it, and generally it'll send out a bunch of other tubers. And so if you save those and cut them properly and store them, then you can multiply your plant. So that is great. But the upfront investment for a single tuber, I mean, on average, they were like $12, $15. There were tubers for $25 for one tuber. And as you can see, I grow a lot of stuff. And no, I was not going to spend that kind of money on tubers. So White Flower Farm had some recommendations online and some other dahlia groups that I belong to. So I thought I'd give them a try. Here's what I want to tell you though. What I discovered is they don't mail out single tubers. They mail out very small clumps. So there are a number of tubers on them. And as I was unpackaging those new tubers, those new clumps, there were many of those that had a lot of small tubers in the clump that had broken necks. They had broken away from the main plant, and I had to snip a bunch of those off, because if you have a broken neck on a tuber, it's not viable. It's not going to do anything. But I was able to salvage enough of those clumps that I feel fairly confident that they will produce this year in my garden. And what I like to do is I like to pre-sprout my dahlias. And so as you can see here, that's simply putting them in a tray with some soil, moistening the soil, but not super wet, because you don't want to rot your tubers, and making sure that the crown of the tuber is exposed. So you want to really make sure to cover up the body of the tubers. And so that's what I've done here. And then I'm going to store these in my greenhouse where it's nice and warm, but not too hot. And I'm going to put them under here out of sunlight because I don't want the sunlight to bake the tubers or dry out the soil too quickly. But I will be checking the moisture of this soil on a daily basis to make sure nothing dries out. If your tubers dry out, they will become desiccated and shriveled up like an old yucky potato, dried out, and then they're not going to produce flowers. Same thing, if they're too wet, they will rot, and then you won't have any flowers as well. So fingers crossed that my new batch of dahlias will add some beauty to the garden and, of course, to a bunch of my cut flower arrangements. Well, if you happen to garden in a zone 6 like I do, or, a 7 or maybe a 5B, mid-April represents a super exciting time. I mean, you can see that my greenhouse is bursting with life, and it's also exciting because that 3 weeks and counting I referenced earlier for me represents the first week of May. And that for Belle's garden means these babies in 3 weeks from now are going to probably be almost double the size, and they're going to start going out in the landscape. I've got loads of flowers that are going to find their ways into pots and hanging baskets, and it is go time. All the hard work in tending and babying I've been doing with my seedlings since January and February and March is the payoff is just so fun and exciting. And so I hope you all are having an exciting spring, and I can't wait for the threat of frost to pass and to have warmer evenings so that all of these gorgeous plants can find a new place to live in the landscape. So I really appreciate you all hanging out with me today for this short little recap of what in the world's happening in the greenhouse, what are some changes, and just such an exciting time. It is go time, everybody. I wish you all happy gardening, and I'll catch you in the next video.